Welcome to Drama Lady Files. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but I've found that sometimes, in the heart of Texas, it's best served at 3 a.m. with a fleet of heavy-duty tow trucks and a stack of legally ironclad paperwork. My name is Garrett Rockwell, and 3 years ago I thought I had finally cashed in my chips on the American dream. After a 30-year career wrestling concrete, steel, and stubborn city inspectors into submission, I sold my Dallas-based construction business. My wife Elena and I bought what we thought was our forever paradise, 3 acres of rolling Texas hill country, a property that technically bordered the manicured lawns of the Willowbrook Commons subdivision but felt a world away. Our house was set a good 400 yards back from the main road, connected by a long, winding gravel driveway. That driveway was more than just a path, it was a statement. The satisfying crunch of tires over limestone aggregate was the sound of decompression, a signal that the noise of the city was behind us. It kept speeds naturally low and unsolicited visitors to a minimum. Here's the key detail, the one I paid a premium for, the one that became the bedrock of my entire strategy. I specifically purchased that half-mile access road as a separate parcel of land under its own deed. It was not part of the Willowbrook Commons plat, not subject to their covenants, conditions, and restrictions, and was by every legal definition in the state of Texas, completely and unequivocally private. The previous owner, a shrewd, cantankerous old rancher named George Blackwood, had carved out that road access back in 1987. He'd had the foresight to legally insulate himself from what he colorfully referred to as neighborhood busybody interference, with a man's God-given right to drive on his own damn land. I paid an extra $80,000 for that privilege, and I considered it the best insurance policy money could buy. We had moved for peace. Elena, a high school principal, is the most practical salt-of-earth woman I know, with a laugh that can disarm a tense school board meeting. Our daughter, Sophia, a whip-smart 15-year-old, was focused on her AP classes and staying clear of teenage drama. We wanted quiet family time, the kind you can't find when your neighbor's house is close enough to hear them sneeze. Every evening, we'd sit on our back porch, sipping sweet tea and listening to the mockingbirds argue in the live oaks, the sweet scent of Elena's jasmine plants drifting across the yard. Life wasn't just good, it was perfect. And then came Vivon Ashworth, the human embodiment of a parking ticket you find on your windshield on Christmas morning. Picture the most entitled, predatory real estate agent you've ever met, the kind who talks about curb appeal while eyeing your family heirlooms. Now, multiply that personality by 10, give her a gavel, and elect her president of a homeowners association. Vivon drove a gleaming white BMW X5 with vanity plates that read Prop. Quen, and yes, she genuinely believed that was clever. She had ruled Willowbrook Commons for 3 years, a reign of terror during which she had sued 12 of her own neighbors for violations, ranging from non-conforming mailbox colors to excessive bird feeder activity. The woman measured grass, height with an actual honest-to-God ruler she carried in her Louis Vuitton purse. The trouble started on a Tuesday morning in March, a day that began with the promise of spring and ended with the stench of war. I was enjoying my coffee, watching the sunrise paint the sky, when the peaceful morning was shattered by the guttural rumble of heavy machinery. Outside my kitchen window, a crew of rough-looking men was methodically spreading fresh, steaming asphalt over my carefully maintained gravel road. The acrid, chemical smell of hot tar and diesel fumes burned my nostrils as the horrifying reality set in. When I stormed outside and confronted the foreman, a beefy man with a sunburned neck, he just shrugged and showed me a work order on his phone. It was signed electronically by Vivon herself, Community Access Improvement Project. My custom-built cedar fence posts, the ones I had set in concrete myself, had been pulled up like weeds and tossed in a splintered pile. The steel surveyor markers, the official legal indicators of my property line, were gone, apparently sledgehammered into oblivion. In their place, where my private road met the manicured entrance of the subdivision, they had erected gaudy, decorative, stone pillars. Gleaming brass plaques were already affixed, reading Willowbrook Commons Grand Entrance. They were literally paving over my property rights and branding my land as a welcome mat for their community. I drove to the HOA office, a sterile storefront in a strip mall down the road, my boots still caked in the dust of my now-buried gravel. Vivon sat behind her mahogany desk like a queen holding court, surrounded by framed real estate awards and community service plaques. Her smile was sharp enough to cut glass. "Garrett," she said, her voice dripping with condescension, "we're simply bringing your rustic access road up to community standards." She gestured to an enlarged plat map on an easel. My road now highlighted in a garish yellow marker and labeled Future Community Thoroughfare. She had the audacity to claim that George Blackwood had made a verbal agreement for eventual road sharing. No documentation, of course, just her word against a dead man's. The next day a certified letter arrived, thick with It was a bill for $3,200 for the road improvement, a demand for a new monthly maintenance fee of $85, and a 30-day notice to install appropriate community standard landscaping along the new asphalt. The letter was peppered with threats. off-property liens, and legal action for non-compliance. Elena was furious, the sound of slamming cabinet doors echoing through our once peaceful home. Sophia's friends, thrilled with the new, smooth surface, immediately started using our driveway as a skateboard park, their wheels grinding outside our bedroom window. Every morning at 7 a.m. our sanctuary had been invaded, but what Vivian didn't know, what she couldn't possibly have imagined in her little kingdom of petty rules and manufactured power, was that George Blackwood, that brilliant old rancher, had left a legal time bomb buried deep within the deed language, and the first a retired commercial developer who had spent 30 years navigating the labyrinth of contracts, permits, and legal loopholes, was about to light the fuse. Vivian thought she was paving a road. In reality, she was paving her own path to financial and legal ruin. Vivian, high on her apparent victory, didn't waste a moment. Within a week, she had a uniformed security guard in a golf cart patrolling what she now imperiously referred to as the community thoroughfare. The first time a rent-a-cop, a kid no older than my daughter, flagged me down at the end of my own driveway to ask for my ID. The metallic taste of pure, unadulterated rage filled my mouth. This wasn't just an overreach, it was a calculated campaign of intimidation, a classic developer's trick to establish a pattern of use. It was extortion disguised as community safety. While Vivian was busy playing neighborhood politics, I was playing a much longer, more strategic game. My first move was a quiet trip to the county planning office. As a builder, I know that in America you can't so much as build a doghouse without a permit. Vivian's crew had violated at least 3 municipal codes. The county records confirmed my suspicions. 0 permits had been filed for any roadwork in our area. Within 48 hours, a bright orange stop-work order was slapped on her pretty new entrance pillars. The sight of that official notice fluttering in the Texas wind was, for me, better than Christmas morning. Her response was predictably petty. An emergency HOA board meeting was convened, and I was fined $500 per day for failure to maintain a common area. She was literally fining me for her illegal construction on my private property. She then organized a community awareness campaign, skillfully turning my neighbors into her personal army. They cornered Elena in the grocery store parking lot, a trio of concerned housewives warning her about my hostile legal behavior and asking if we were having financial problems and needed to sell. The psychological warfare was escalating, but I was building my own army. I hired a private investigator, a retired hard-nosed sheriff's deputy named Rex, who had a talent for digging up the kind of public records people preferred to keep buried. Within days, he uncovered the truth. Vivian had been secretly buying up surrounding properties through a network of opaque shell companies for months. My 3-acre property was the keystone, the final piece of the puzzle she needed to complete, a multi-million-dollar luxury development deal. This wasn't about a road. It was about her financial survival. Rex's financial deep dive revealed she was hemorrhaging money. 90 days from personal bankruptcy unless she could force me to sell. The real smoking gun, however, was found in a dusty, forgotten filing cabinet in the courthouse basement. Rex unearthed George Blackwood's original 1987 deed restrictions. The language was a legal masterpiece, a work of art crafted by a man who had seen the future of suburban politics. Access road shall remain private property in perpetuity, not subject to any homeowner association covenants, assessments, or interference whatsoever, in perpetuity forever. George had built a legal fortress around my land, and I now held the key. The final beautiful piece of my plan came from an unexpected source. I discovered, through a network of old construction contacts, that Vivian owed a staggering $12,000 in unpaid bills to a local towing company, Morrison Recovery Services. The owner, a tough-as-nails operator named Jake Morrison, was a man who did not like being ignored. His unpaid invoices gave him a mechanic's lien, a powerful legal claim that could force the sale of HOA assets to satisfy the debt. The climax came on what Vivian had arrogantly dubbed Community Action Day. She had organized a mob of 20 neighbors, armed with bolt cutters and sledgehammers, to physically destroy my new survey markers and reclaim the land for the community. She had even called the local TV news, expecting a sympathetic story about a brave community leader standing up to a selfish homeowner. Instead, they arrived to find me standing calmly on my property line next to a sheriff's deputy Rex had quietly summoned. When Vivian, high on her own self-importance, stepped onto my land with bolt cutters in hand while screaming threats. The deputy had seen enough. The sharp, metallic click of handcuffs echoed across the sudden silence as she was cited for criminal trespassing. The news crew filmed the entire glorious meltdown, including her unhinged rant about property values and my uncooperative attitude. Her mugshot was the lead story on the 6 o'clock news. That was the signal. At 3 a.m. the next morning, my secret weapon was deployed. Jake Morrison's fleet of heavy-duty tow trucks, operating under the full legal authority of his mechanics, lien and my explicit notarized permission to access my private road, descended on Willowbrook Commons. They moved with the silent professional efficiency of a special operations team. One by one, every car belonging to Vivan and her keyboard members, the ones who had vandalized my mailbox and poisoned my landscaping, was hooked up and hauled away to various strategically chosen impound lots across 3 different counties. By sunrise, 12 vehicles, including Vivan's precious prop Quen BMW, had vanished into thin air. The ensuing chaos was magnificent. Panic-stricken HOA board members flooded the 911 dispatch with calls, reporting their cars stolen, only to be curtly informed that their vehicles had been legally repossessed to satisfy a commercial debt, and were now accruing daily storage fees. In lots 100 miles away, the financial empire collapsed like a house of cards in a hurricane. The banks, seeing the news report and learning of the fraud, called in her loans. The insurance company, alerted to the ongoing criminal activity, cancelled the HOA's liability policy, leaving the board members personally liable for all damages. The federal investigation, triggered by the serious environmental violations from the illegal road construction, uncovered a web of municipal corruption involving Vivan's brother-in-law, the county commissioner. In the end, Vivan was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for a litany of charges including wire fraud, embezzlement, and racketeering. The civil settlement awarded me $480,000 in damages, which I used to establish a veterans scholarship fund for the community. The asphalt was torn up, my peaceful gravel road was restored, and the ugly, pretentious pillars were demolished. Peace, real peace, finally returned to Willowbrook Commons. And every now and then, I hear the satisfying crunch of tires on gravel and I smile, reminded that sometimes the best way to deal with a bully who thinks she owns the world is to serve them a dish of their own making, delivered by a fleet of tow trucks in the dead of night.